Am I the a-hole for telling my ex's sterile affair partner to have her own daughter if she wants to share cheerleading with one? My ex, 44 male, cheated on me, 40 female, and ended our marriage so he could be with his affair partner/wife, Jen, 42 female. This happened several years ago when our kids were very young. My ex gets our kids 6 days a month. He works out of state frequently, so this was the most consistent schedule where our kids would be with a parent, me or ex, instead of being left with a babysitter or his wife. According to my ex and Jen, she is sterile and can never have kids. I never ask, but they offered this up in hopes I would share the kids with her more and encourage them to embrace Jen as their second mom. I have not done this, and I have told them we are not friends and they're not to expect favors from me after going behind my back and doing what they did. Jen was someone I knew before learning the truth. She was dating someone in my ex's friend circle and made a point to get to know me. I found out why after. She was expecting us being friends would help me not to hate her afterward. I bring all this up because of what's currently going on. Jen was a big cheerleader in her youth and volunteers with local cheer groups. She wants my daughter, 10, to get involved in cheer. My daughter told me about it the other week because Jen was trying to make her go and my ex was backing Jen on it. She told me she didn't want to and she needed my help. All the kids are aware of the fact stuff like that has to be agreed on by both me and their dad. I reached out and told my ex our daughter will not be put into cheer against her will and that he needs to stop pressuring her to join. He didn't respond back the way he's supposed to, through the app, so I noted his reply on the app and got a lot of cussing back. Jen tried to call me but I didn't answer. She approached me a few days later while we were in the same store and she told me I can't keep punishing her by depriving her of my children. She said she's been in their lives since they were little, and she has every right to bond with them and share stuff with them like that. I told her she does not get to force my kids into stuff like that against their will. I walked away, and she followed me around for a bit and told me how it was her dream to share cheer with a daughter and all the crap that I don't care about. I told her she should have a daughter of her own if she wants to share it, and leave mine alone. She stopped following me after that, and I heard from my ex a few times after, saying I was cruel to say that to her when I know she can't have children. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I love it when people think they can force kids to do stuff. Forget adding the affair into the mix. I don't know everything about the app you mentioned, but you might want to add what happened at the grocery store. Keep documenting the harassment and pressure they putting on you and your kids. They can figure out a different way to play house. Absolutely. Kids should never be pressured like that, especially when they've already said no. Adding the grocery store incident to the app is smart. It's always good to have a clear record of what's happening. They should know that children are not extensions of themselves or tools to fulfill their own unmet needs or desires. Not a-hole. Not only was your ex a trash husband, he's also a trash father for allowing his affair partner/wife to inflict her motherly desires on your children. It's been a problem in so many ways. It's all documented though, so at least when the kids get to a certain age, if they want to see him less, I'll have documented proof of the problems. You and your children owe this woman nothing. Good on you for protecting them. As a cheer mom for almost a decade, do not allow her to push your daughter into cheer if she's not interested. It's a dangerous sport, and one of those where you either love it or hate it. My daughter was the former and went hard until she graduated. She got injured so much. Oh, and it's wildly expensive. Not the a-hole. I heard from the others the expense is crazy. The risks of injury are worrying too. It makes me glad my daughter has no interest because I'd worry about her being hurt badly. I'm sorry your daughter suffered so many injuries from it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for protecting my sister-in-law who cheated on my brother? 2 years ago, our family was caught in a huge drama. My sister-in-law had a month-long affair with someone from her night courses. At that time, my brother was absolutely destroyed, and he wanted to divorce her. It was hell for almost 3 months, but he ultimately decided to stay married to her and work through it in counseling. I wasn't a fan of that idea, but it's his life. I think he stayed mostly for their kid, but I honestly think it's been terrible for him. Since then, everything has been miserable. My parents openly hate her now. She has stopped coming to family gatherings because it's outright hostile to her. Their kid still comes around, but my mother often badmouths her in front of him. He's only 3, and it's confusing for him. My brother and I went on a road trip recently to pick up our grandmother and bring her to my parents' house for the holidays. It was 4 hours there and 4 hours back. During the drive, he started talking about the rules they have in their marriage now. Here's what he told me. Sister-in-law has to come straight home after work. She can only go out if he's with her. He inspects her phone every few days and can do surprise checks. She had to cut off all her friends and can only have new ones if he approves them. She has tracking apps on her phone and AirTags on her car, purse, and even in her running shoes. She does all the housework. Meanwhile, he has given himself a free pass to sleep with other people. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told him it sounded like he was punishing her, not rebuilding their marriage. He shrugged it off and said she deserved it for what she did. I asked him if he even loved her anymore or if he hated her. Because from what he was describing, it sounded like he stayed married just to make her life miserable. He got defensive and told me I didn't understand what it was like to be cheated on. But I do. I've been cheated on, and it was devastating. I separated, and now I'm happy because I didn't want to live in misery with someone I couldn't trust. I told him he wasn't just making her miserable, he was making himself miserable too. He is poisoning everything for both of them, and their child will be stuck in the middle. I asked him if he would prefer to separate, co-parent, and move on to find someone he could actually trust. I said it would be better than living in this constant resentment. He didn't want to hear it, and said I should mind my business. When we got to my parents' house, I asked to speak with my sister-in-law privately. I wanted to see if she was okay because this sounded awful. She broke down crying and admitted she feels trapped but is staying for their son. She begged me not to tell anyone, so I promised I wouldn't. Later, my brother found out we had talked, and he got furious. He accused me of protecting her and interfering in his marriage. My parents agreed with him and said I should have stayed out of it. They think she deserves everything she's getting for what she did. I feel like this is so toxic for everyone involved. No one deserves to live like this, not even someone who made a bad choice/decision. Their son is growing up in the middle of this disaster. I just don't see how this is good for anyone. Am I in the wrong for saying something? Should I have stayed out of it? Both are idiots. She could also ask for a divorce and move on. This way, all the little son learns is what mistrust, resentment, and hate in a relationship mean. And you are right, he's also punishing himself. He'd rather live in hate than move on and find peace and happiness. And his hate will follow their son's life. We all know that parents are the main cause of all the trauma in adult life. Everyone who goes to therapy figures out that their issues lie mostly in their childhood. And your parents also add to the boy's conflicted view of women. How will the boy respect women when all he sees is that they deserve to be punished? Even when you don't fight in front of the kids, enough studies show that kids can feel the thick air. He is destroying his son by staying in this environment. But yeah, let's live in the illusion that living with a person you hate is better for the child than living in peaceful households. Yeah, she definitely could, but she is also a coward, or else she would not have cheated. However, I do not know how safe my brother is at the moment. It would not surprise me if he had held something over her head, like child custody or something like that. She would not say more but hinted strongly at that. But I don't think I can quite believe either of them. They should just end things. Not the a-hole OP. Sister-in-law needs to move forward with divorce, and brother needs to move on and forgive her for his own mental health and his son. Maybe everyone could prioritize the child who will end up being the final victim of this mess. I don't think he has to forgive her, but he has to let go. He is also only hurting himself. Like one day he is going to wake up and hate her even more because he spent his life hating her. Next story. Am I the a-hole for dismissing my in-laws to attempts to convince me to follow their family baby naming traditions? My husband and I, both 20s, are expecting our first child, and we have decided not to follow his family tradition of using family first and middle names for our baby. We both have our reasons. I don't have a family. I was a foster kid. My birth family's terrible. I never found a forever family in the system. My husband said it would feel weird to pick from just his side, especially since the baby will already have his last name. He doesn't want it to seem like I'm unimportant, and I appreciate that because it does make me emotional when I think about having to say we named our kids after a family but only from his side. It would just add salt to the wound of being unwanted as a kid. My husband's reason is that he would be under tremendous pressure to choose names from his mom and stepfather's sides of the family rather than from his late dad's side. While he would prefer to use names from just his parents' sides, it would be a big deal to leave others out. This is especially sensitive because there was already some drama over our last name. His name was changed to his stepfather's last name when his mom remarried, but he changed it back as an adult. That was a very sore point for them. And he doesn't want to juggle their feelings when we're supposed to be naming the children as a couple, not based on his family's preferences. The news got out because a relative wanted to use the name of a recently deceased family member for their unborn child. Our baby's due first, and a relative wanted to check if we were planning to use the name. My husband said it was fine, but a relative kept asking if we might change our minds. My husband reassured them that we weren't using a family name at all. This was kept quiet for several weeks, but then the relative blurted it out during an extended family dinner. My husband's family acted like the world was ending. I know my in-laws feel strongly about this, but I thought their reaction was an overreaction. They tried to change our minds, and my husband's mom and stepfather were especially outspoken about how much it meant to them, and how they felt my husband should follow the tradition for the kids. I told them we were the parents and didn't want to, but that wasn't good enough, according to them. Over the holidays, they kept trying to approach me about it, and I said I was only talking names with my husband. They didn't give up and tried to convince me that it would be good for the baby, and that I should want to use family names. I told them to give up because I wasn't listening and wasn't going to listen. They told me it was rude to dismiss them like that, when they were only trying to be caring grandparents. They also said I should be grateful they want us to keep the tradition. My husband told them to leave me alone and we needed some space if they were going to keep acting like this. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. This is a decision between you and your husband. Personally, even after the name is decided, I would not share it with anyone until after the birth. It will just result in more hounding/insults due to them not approving. Agreed. The constant "but we have traditions" pressure is a lot. At the end of the day, it's you and your husband's choice, no one else's. He said we were the parents and we didn't want to, but that wasn't good enough, according to them. Well, they're wrong. It's your choice. You have valid reasons for not wanting to follow their tradition, and even if you didn't, it wouldn't matter because you're the parents. I'm glad your husband is being supportive, and I hope his parents come to understand that it's not their decision to make. Only trying to be caring grandparents? BS. More like only trying to be controlling grandparents, not the a-hole. And doing it for the kids and it would be good for the baby. Like it's a name. You're not giving your kids a superpower. They will survive not having the same name as the rest of the family. They act like they paid for these names and trying to make sure they got their money's worth. I never thought of it that way, but you're not wrong. It would make more sense if people had to buy names, and you wanted to get the most out of your money. Last story. Am I the a-hole for reminding my stepmother that she chose to not be a grandmother? My father married my stepmother when I was 20. She had 2 young teenagers at a time, whom I have always referred to as my step-siblings. However, because of our ages and the fact that I never lived with them, we were never particularly close, although we get along just fine. When I was 30, I had my first child, and I asked my stepmother what she wanted to be called by my son. She did not want to be any form of grandmother, and instead just wanted to be called by her first name. Let's call her Nancy. My 3 children are now young adults, and have never really had much of a relationship with Nancy, aside from seeing her as Gramps' wife. Everyone gets along fine, but she has never treated them as grandkids. That was her choice. Over the years, she has mentioned how she can't wait to be a grandmother. It's her dream. My step-siblings, Nancy's children, are both in committed long-term relationships and have chosen not to have children. I am now 53, remarried to a great guy with 2 children of his own, young adults. The oldest is getting married soon and can't wait to have kids. We were all chatting about this at Christmas, and I mentioned that I couldn't wait to be a grandma. We talked with my stepdaughter about what her mom wants to be called, what I'll be called, etc. My kids consider their step-siblings family and vice versa. We rarely even use the step part. I plan to treat all my grandkids the same, whether they are technically my step-grandchildren or not. Later in the day, I walked into the room where Nancy and my stepdaughter were chatting and overheard Nancy say how devastated she is that she never had any grandchildren and how it was something she had always dreamed of. My stepdaughter said, "I'm confused. Don't you have 3?" Nancy responded and said, "No, they're not mine. They're my husband's." At that point, I spoke up and said, "They could always have been yours too, but you didn't want to be their grandma." Nancy didn't say much, just, "I know, but it's not the same." I then told my stepdaughter that it was all the same to me, and she hugged me. The next day, my dad called and said that I hurt Nancy's feelings, and that I should have said something way sooner if I wanted the kids to call her a form of grandma. I responded that it wasn't an issue for me, it was her choice. I was just pointing out that she could have had a role and she chose not to. But I also mentioned that it hurt me that she now complains that she never had any grandchildren. Just a difference of opinion, I guess. Am I the a-hole here? Should I have just kept my mouth shut? I hate that I hurt her feelings, but I wanted to be clear to my stepdaughter that I didn't share the same feelings. My dad says that Nancy felt I was rude for calling her out, but I think I was just defending how it played out and how I hope it plays out differently with my family. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Nancy made her choices and now she regrets them. If it's uncomfortable for her to be reminded of that, it's on her to deal with. As I often say, she booked that trip herself. Your stepdaughter is lucky, and so is your soon-to-be grandchild. When my mother met my father, she had 2 little boys. My grandma just considered them more people to love. This was my mom. I'm the black sheep of the family. She cut me off for getting pregnant too young, 21, saying she was too young to be a grandma, and didn't speak to me for 15 years. Now she's all, "I can't wait for grandbabies." Then my golden child sister decided she's child-free. Suck it, Shirley.